let's take this one step further, and when it goes too far, a school by the name of Quest Collegiate is the first of its kind in Canada and is opened right here in Ontario. This school helps teens battle addiction and get an education at the same time. This school has no dress code. The students wear slippers or PJs to class. They even have smoke breaks. They are congratulated for eating fruit and putting their dishes in the sink and apologizing if they swear. It's a school unlike all the rest for students unlike the others. It's in Midland, Ontario, and looks like it's the sole high school in Canada for teenagers recovering from addiction to drugs and alcohol or suffering mental health issues. Inspirational posters in the hallway encourage students to be the change, and on the walls next to articles about teen drug abuse. It's quite an idea, and to talk more about all of this is Gary Dierenfeld. Of course, you can find out more about him at yoursocialworker.com. He also has a parenting column in the Hamilton Spectator, and he's with us now. Good afternoon, Gary. How are you today?
Great. Good to be with you again, Scott.
Thanks for taking the time. We always appreciate your time and expertise here. What's your take on this school? This sounds like a no-brainer.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I read the article in the Toronto Star. I know about as much about it as you do. Here's what I glean, okay? We do have some students out there who are battling such terrible addictions to drugs that they are so disenfranchised that for them it is a challenge waking up in the morning. And if we don't have what we call outreach, some way of, literally reaching out and grabbing them, we can lose these kids. From an economic perspective, these are some of the most expensive kids to serve, and they create great cost on an ongoing basis in terms of crime, in terms of health, in terms of their poor nutrition. So to offer something like this, to me, does seem like a no-brainer, and it's courageous on the part of the people who have put this together.
Could some kids say, though, you're going to the drug school? Is there a stigma attached to this, perhaps?
Well, I get the sense that this school is far off the beaten track, and so there will be some degree of anonymity, confidentiality associated with that. So initially, I think the kids who go there might perceive there to be a stigma, but at the end of the day, I don't know that that's going to be a challenge for them.
Why? What would this school or a school like this provide that others may not?
Well, I got to tell you, back in the 1980s, I worked at a place called Thistletown Regional Center, which was a large children's mental health hospital operated by the Ministry of Community and Social Services. And on site, we had a special school that was operated by the local school board, but it was staffed only with special ed teachers, child care workers, and social workers. We were able to, in a sense, accept the behavior of the child on any given day, and also, in a sense, contain it to make it safe for that child and the other students. Because of that, and because of our, non-judgmental approach, acceptance, guidance we offered, we were able to help children settle into the school, redevelop their skills for learning, and over time graduate them back to the community. So there's a strong role for these special schools that offer respite from the the trials and tribulations, be it at home or in the community, and give these kids truly a second chance.
It says here, 1 in 5 people in Canada struggle with mental health or addiction. Thousands fall through the cracks every year. Parents often have to choose between pushing their child into a broken system or paying a small fortune to send them to a youth rehabilitation facility in the United States. Is there no course of action for these people that do fall through the cracks?
There is very limited courses of action. These are the kids that are at tremendous risk of becoming homeless. Many of these children will otherwise become homeless, and as teenagers, they will be in the shelter system out on the streets, and like I say, then society has a bigger burden of care, so it's not good for the young person, and it's not good for society.
Would society view this as a good idea or too extravagant?
You know, when you read this article, there's nothing extravagant going on here. It sounds like they're providing a decent but minimal level of care, wanting to make sure that the kids are safe, and the real work is what we call engagement, getting these kids to just hang in long enough to form some semblance of a relationship with the teachers and the social workers such that maybe they can turn their life around. There's nothing extravagant about that.
And, you know, we talk about this all the time, but, man, I can't stress this enough. And maybe it's just now because I'm a parent, I see it all the time. But it really is not about good kids or bad kids. It's about engaging kids, isn't it? Often they, like, you know, they come out of the chute, they're not programmed. We got a program to do the right thing.
Where but for the grace of God go I, as the saying goes.
Mm-hmm.
This could be your kid, this could be my kid. So it's not even about good parents, bad parents. Sometimes things go wrong with the wiring, things go awry, and you know, mental health issues can abound in the absence of a bad family, in the presence of a good family. At the end of the day, these are children. And if we want to help with the trajectory of their lives, we have to nudge them back on track. And a school is a great place to start. It's typically neutral turf, free from all the other negative influences the child may find themselves in, such that they can now concentrate on their own mental health and their education.
Another point in this article, they are taught how to write grocery lists, cook, eat healthy foods, clean and wash their own clothes. They go on school outings, to the gym, art galleries, dentist, hockey games. This is basic stuff that lots may say all kids need. Have we lost our way in the education system? Are we forgetting about some of these basic social skills that we need, or
most kids are going to adopt those basic skills from their own lifestyles at home.
Good point. Yeah.
Okay. Once you become so involved in a drug culture or so drug addicted, you will have conflict at home because no parent is happy with their child being hooked on drugs, and in that the child becomes less and less focused on self-care, less and less focused on the what we call the activities of daily living, and more focused on the next hit of the drug. So we want to re-engage them and teach them the basics of skills for I'm not saying this well, but the basic skills for living life.
They say that they bend the rules just to sort of get the kids back on track. When they enroll, they sign a pledge to stay sober and not skip class, but those rules have usually already been broken. How do you balance that? How do you, and are these situations useless if the person really hasn't committed to change?
So we don't want to start, we don't seek to engage kids through rigidity. They're coming to us because they have certain problems, you know, be it acting out, the drugs, non-compliance, lack of trust. And so when they come to us and exhibit the behaviors that got them there, we can't really hold it against them. It's like blaming you when you go to your doctor because you have a cold, and when you're at the doctor's office, you sneeze, right? So these are kids that still need to be engaged in the process such that they can heal. Just like when you go to the doctor for your cold and you sneeze, we don't hold that against you, but we say, that's why you've come. Now let us help you with that.
Is this is a private school from what I understand. Is this something that could be done in the public system, do you think?
I think it absolutely could be done in the public system. Here's the problem, though, Scott. Mental health, with respect to all of health care, is like the poor cousin when it comes to funding.
Yeah.
Children's mental health is the poorer poor cousin.
Right.
So the powers that be may not have the stomach to put funding towards these kinds of programs. From my perspective, what a shame, what a loss. We don't want to lose kids.
Obviously, these kids are beyond functioning in a normal school situation, correct? So, for them, is this the only option? I mean, other than the street itself, I would guess?
I would think that the street is the alternative option for some of these kids. It's crazy that we would call that an option. But yeah, there is very limited resources for children in such dire straits.
Is this a problem that's increasing? And if so, how do we address this moving forward? Is it going to be just, we're going to see more private clinics like this for kids? Because really what this is a juvenile version of a rehabilitation center combined with education.
Yeah, absolutely. So are we seeing more of this? I'm not sure what the stats on that are, quite frankly. But having said that, how many kids do we want to see wasted? How many kids do we want to see whose trajectory will lead them likely to death or crime or, a life of living on the streets? We don't want that. We want to change the trajectory. So the degree to which we can get in there and offer all these support services, we have a shot at a better outcome for this child and a decrease on the public purse on a go-forward basis. It's money well spent.
Can you change somebody that doesn't want to change, or are we wrong to think because they are so young we can't make a difference?
So when it comes to youth, to adolescents, I don't really go with the paradigm, do they want to change or not change, because quite frankly, many of these kids don't know differently to make that as a conscious choice. I think the real challenge, again, is one of engagement. How do we engage these youth such that we can then influence them and help them make better choices on a go-forward basis? That is a problem with kids who are so disenfranchised and whose experiences in life have taught them not to trust persons in authority. So that's why, you read in the Star article that, there's rules, but they're flexible. We want to, bring you into the fold without whacking you over the head about it, such that we can develop a relationship and through the relationship, hopefully influence you into a better lifestyle.
Picking somebody who's halfway between a place like this and a regular school, which I'm sure lots are, what can teachers do when they come across a kid who, for all intents and purposes, an average kid, but isn't getting that engagement and has that chance of going down the wrong road? Whether the parents, the parent doesn't necessarily have to be mean or abusive. Maybe they're busy working, whatever the social, problem is. How does a teacher engage a student when his parents don't or her parents don't?
Yeah, good question. And so with some of these kids, they can present either despondent, withdrawn, or angry and acting out. Either way, we don't want the teacher to personalize the behavior of the student. Rather, we want the teacher to say, despite your behavior, I'm concerned about you. So the degree to which we can reach out, show some empathy, and not get triggered by the behavior of the student, then that teacher has a shot at forming their own relationship through which they may provide some influence.
Are there many that are slipping through the cracks like this, Gary?
Yes. So if we look here in our own school boards, both Hamilton and Catholic, they already have many programs in place to meet the needs of disenfranchised students, to try and offer them alternatives to a classic school setting. But it sounds, just by reading this article, that this one is targeted very specifically to those kids whose issues are strongly connected to drugs, and where these kids are so marginalized that they wouldn't survive elsewhere.
Are there enough rehab facilities for young people that would attend a school like this?
There aren't enough rehab facilities for adults, and again, adults are already the second cousin in mental health, so this is the third cousin once removed, so no, there aren't enough facilities.
Do you think that something like this will get people's attention and we'll see more and more scenarios like this?
Well, that's a good question. And I guess I'm going to liken it to the food banks. So we said, well, there's these food banks. They create a sense of shame and embarrassment amongst the users. Maybe that will motivate government to provide better social services such that people don't have to use the food banks. Maybe we'll finally see a living wage. And yet, you know what? None of that has really happened. I think government sits back and says, now we don't need to do it.
Because you got the food bank. So is this a Band-Aid, do you think?
Well, as I read the article, I think the concern expressed there is that this not just become an option for the well-to-do who can afford to pay for this privately. We'll have to see how that plays out. I would like to see more things like this made available on the public purse. It really is to the benefit of all society.
Yeah, it certainly seems like preventive medicine, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, it must cost a fortune when somebody falls off the rails this early in life.
And I used to work in that kind of facility where kids would come to us. It was referred to as a tertiary level facility. So kids who came to us had prior treatment failures elsewhere. There was no place else that could house them, that could take them, that can offer them service. And we were working with some of the most difficult children to serve in southern Ontario. So this really reminds me of my early days in social work. We do need more of this. No child should, in a sense, be left behind. I think that's a phrase that comes out of some U.S. programs. But there's so much truth to that.
Gary Dierenfeld has been with a social worker. You can find out more at yoursocialworker.com, and of course look for his parenting column in the Hamilton Spectator. Quest Collegiate in Midland, first of its kind in Canada, has opened up to help high school. It's a high school to help teens battle addiction and get an education at the same time. Gary, thanks for the time as always. Much appreciated.
Let's love not just our kids, but our neighbors' kids as well, and let's help them.
You have to do that, don't you?
Honestly.
As much as it, you sit there and you go, that kid drives me nuts, but you can't turn your back, can you?
There you go.
All right, another lesson well learned. Thank you, Gary. 2:55, that's a wrap for the show. Thanks for tuning in. Always appreciated.